Hey, everybody. I just wanted to remind you before we get going on the radio today that I still have the link to my webinar that I did last weekend up on my website. All you have to do is go to statlerfinancial.com under the events tab and click on the link there to watch our webinar regarding the elections. Even though the election's over and undecided, there's a lot of information there that would be beneficial for you. Take a look. That's statlerfinancial.com under the events tab, the webinar on Decision 2020. Good morning, everybody. Hey, we're still here, right? The election didn't kill anybody. And guess what? It's not over yet. We still have some numbers to come in. But Dave and I will talk about that this morning. And we'll talk about some other things and how some of the things in the election here in Florida, how that's going to affect our economy and what it's going to affect to inflation. So all important things to talk about today. The markets seem to be happy with what's going on in the marketplace, not what I expected. So I'm glad you're with us today as we get ready to discuss the election and more. If you need any help, if I can help you in any way when it comes to your 401k, your finances, your retirement income, please give me a call, 863-382-0037. Hey, looking forward to our conversation today. Up next.
105.7 Light FM. Yes, we're here. It's 8:40, 20 before 9. We're going to check in on your money now and see what the election did to your IRA and your 401k. And Phillip, Statler, and I were on the phone trying to figure it out ourselves because some things are really acting weird on Wall Street this morning. Which is kind of why we got to the end of the record before I noticed. All right, let's go downtown, see if he's caught his breath yet. Phillip, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Dave. Can I say that I'm pleasantly surprised today in terms of what the stock market seems to be doing this morning, because there's still some uncertainty out there, and that uncertainty hasn't been squashed yet. So I am a bit perplexed. What the market is doing today.
Yeah, you and I both are looking at green ink this morning, and some pretty decided green ink on a couple of the indexes. And we're sitting here saying, all right, we've been preaching now for over a week that the market does not like uncertainty. And maybe they're looking at things and saying, well, at the very least, we're seeing a trend. They're seeing the probability that the Republicans will hold the Senate, which is going to be stability for Wall Street. And it looks like, at the very least, the way things are going, we're down to like 5 states that are up for grabs right now as far as calling the elections. Well, we may not know who's going to win the presidential race for sure yet. At the very least, it looks like we're going to know. At the very least, it's not going to be one of those wait until the end of the month things. And maybe just the fact that the uncertainty is going to be short-lived might be why they're optimistic.
It could very well be. It's just one of those things that you and I both agree. Sometimes you just don't know why the market's doing what it's doing. I do know that, like you said, it looks like the Republicans will hold on to the Senate, and it looks like the Democrats will hold on to the House. It looks to me like a couple of the things I've seen, though the Republicans will gain some seats in the House, which was unexpected from what I understand.
Yeah, we were talking the top line about the Republicans maybe probably holding on to the Senate and the presidency being in doubt. I hadn't even made mention of that earlier. Yeah, at this point in time, anyway, it looks like the Democrats might lose a couple of seats in the House, which won't change the majority, but at the very least kind of send a message that some of the things that they were doing from the House standpoint weren't the most popular elements anyway. It's an interesting election, and you could kind of tell that investors on the futures market were kind of looking at it and going, what the Sam Hill's going on too, because overnight the Dow futures were making like a 600-point swing up and down as the states were getting called and not called. So it's a poster child incident of instability and uncertainty not being a favored presence for an investor, is it?
No, it's really not. And you're right. I mean, I was glued to the TV for a while last night. 10 o'clock, though, and it went off and I went to bed. So, and really and truly not much changed, right? From 10 o'clock till when I got up this morning. I don't think the electoral votes, electoral college votes, I don't think it changed any from that time period. So for you people that stayed up a lot later than that, you really didn't gain anything, right? You could have just gone to bed and got up this morning and been in the same place. So
Yeah,
yeah,
a couple of extra cocktails you weren't planning on having while you tried to stay up and watch it, and you didn't gain anything anyway as far as information. It's still about 50 points shy of the 270 for Biden, about 60 points shy of the 270 for Trump, and we're still wondering what's going on with about 5 states still in play.
That's right.
We start out the morning with a couple of government reports out that really don't seem to be affecting the market all that much. One of them is kind of quasi-governmental, ADP, the big employment service. Yes, we're now looking at the end of the month of October, the beginning of November, first Friday in November, we start to get the unemployment numbers. ADP said private sector, according to that big payroll service, grew by 315,000 jobs during October, and that was not what the market was looking for, was it?
No, it definitely wasn't, Dave. They were expecting more like 600,000 new jobs from the private sector, and that just didn't happen. And let me just, you and I didn't talk about this. But,
you there, Phillip?
I'm here. Are you there?
Yeah, we lost you for about a second.
Okay. So I just said I'm going to rant for here just a minute, because the state of Florida passed that minimum wage amendment to $15 an hour. And a lot of times people feel like that's going to give them a raise. They don't think about the other parts of it, right? Number one, corporations never pay taxes. They pass it on as a cost. The same thing happens to labor costs, right? What's your Big Mac going to cost you at McDonald's now? And what's gas going to cost you? What are all those things going to cost us now that the minimum wage has gone up? Because, you know, they're going to keep their profits the same. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that affects the inflation rate here in Florida.
It's going to be interesting. The referendum itself was $1 an hour increase each year until we get up to $15 an hour. And your point's well taken. I mean, one of the things that I've preached as an economist has always been that the market determines the minimum wage. Nothing wrong with the minimum wage law. I'm not opposed to it. But you know, during a time where we've got full employment plus, like we did until March, that's the time to bump the minimum wage up to the floor the market has forced it up to already. Then don't let it fall below that. So kind of forcing it up. As you say, about 90% of the operating costs of the average fast food franchise are labor costs. So if you increase the labor costs by 40% to somebody, for instance, you're probably going to see about a 30% increase in the output price of the product they're selling. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here. I don't want to get on that bandwagon too long, but you know, it's just one of those things that we have to be cognizant of, that we can expect inflation for our little community here to start to go up substantially.
It could very well. You're right. The other economic information we got out this morning was the trade deficit. It was about on target. Analysts were expecting $63.8 billion deficit. We ended up at 63.9, and the decrease in the deficit, this is the good news, was an increase in exports, which means we're selling more stuff overseas, and that's a good bit of economic news.
Absolutely. We always like to see exports going up and imports going down. So that is good news when it comes to our trade front.
Absolutely. Bunch of reports going on. I know I didn't get a chance to ask you how many, but what do the indications look like from the companies that are reporting during earnings season?
It's a little bit of a mixed bag. So let's just start off. I got 3 or 4 here. We got Hilton, the hotel chain. They came in and beat by a little bit. They reported 6 cents a share profit. They were expected to actually lose 2 cents a share. Revenue, though, was below what was forecasted. I like this number. So one of the things that their key indicators is their revenue per room. And that fell 60% from where it was a year ago. Yeah, so some big losses there year over year, but they're trading up because I think of the outlook of what's happening. So they're up about 2% this morning. The Scott's Miracle-Gro reported, and they missed. They missed by 4 cents a share. They only made 6 cents profit. I guess they were expected to make about 10. The revenue was slightly above expectations. They did give a full an upbeat report for 2021, thinking that it looks like they should have a decent year there, but they're trading down this morning 5%.
That's a little bit. That's a little bit of a surprise. I would have kind of expected lawn and garden products for a period of time in which you're spending more time at home. I would have expected them to have a good quarter.
Yeah, I would have too with that, but I guess people are doing more inside projects than outside projects. But and then talking about fast food, Dave, we got Wendy's reported.
Yeah,
they beat by 2 cents a share. Came in at 19 cents a share. Revenue though was a little shy of what they had expected. Globally, around the world, restaurant sales were up 6.7% per store. That was better than the 5.4% expected. And here in the United States, they came in at 7% better compared to the 6.7 they were expecting. So some good news there, but there's something in the ointment that's not what people wanted. They're trading down today 4%.
Lordy. Well, let's find one more for good news before we summarize things.
So that's really all the individual stocks I have, but I want to talk a minute about Uber and Lyft because they got a big lift last night. California was a thorn in their sides because they wanted to treat all the Lyft and Uber drivers and all the whole gig economy as employees, and that's not good. And so they put on their ballot what they call Proposition 22, which would by law make those people independent contractors, and it passed. It passed significantly, and so that's good news for Uber, Lyft, all those type of companies. Lyft is trading up 17% this morning. Uber is trading up 12%. So those stockholders are happy this morning.
I got that. That might be part of the drive up in NASDAQ when we get to it. Set the table this morning. Yesterday was party time. Dow was up 555 points. The S&P was up by 59 points. NASDAQ up by 203 points. That's all three of them were approaching or exceeding 2% increases yesterday. 45 minutes before we open, how are we doing this morning so far?
Dave, I'm going to tell you, the election uncertainty is not affecting the markets this morning. And so where are we at? We are up green ink across the board on the stock indexes. We got the Dow up 0.6%. That's like $147. We got the S&P 500 up 1.75%, almost $60. Get this one, Dave. The NASDAQ up 3.6%. That's $406 this morning. Crazy number there. And then, yeah, I mean, it's unreal. And the commodity side is kind of the opposite, right? We got silver down 0.6%. We got gold down about 0.1%. We got crude oil going up 2.5%, and they are sitting at $38.58 a barrel right now.
A wee bit better than we had. World markets overseas, mixed bag in Asia overnight. The Japanese markets followed our lead and said, oh, goody. They were up by 1.75%. Mainland Chinese and Hong Kong markets not quite so enthusiastic. European markets are up on our strength this morning, midway through their day. Needs to be made note that a faith in equities and a run-up over the next couple of days generally results in lower yields on the would normally result in higher yields as they sell off the bonds, but 30-year Treasury bonds are off by 8 basis points this morning, which interesting seeing the bonds going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, that's a pretty big number there.
It truly is. Somebody needs help trying to figure out where the instability goes, because when it goes up this fast, generally there's a downside that's going to happen in a few days as well. How do I find you to insulate myself from the risk in my retirement fund?
You know, Dave, interestingly enough, I've had several phone calls this last week because of the election about folks' 401ks. Do they have them positioned properly? What changes do they need to make? And that's what we're here for, to help people walk through that process and make sure they don't have too much risk in their current portfolio. Give us a call, 382-0037. You can also go to my website, statlerfinancial.com. There's a button there you can click and schedule a phone call, schedule an appointment, whatever works for you. And then join us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk 730.
And back here again tomorrow morning. Phillip, thank you so much. We'll catch you then, all right?
All right, man. You have a great day.
Thank you, my friend. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Phillip Statler.
Hey, everybody. Again, I want to thank you again for joining us today. Let me remind you, I still have that replay of the webinar I did last weekend up on my website. You can go to statlerfinancial.com under the events tab and click on the link there. It'll take you to my webinar. Hey, there's still, even though that was done prior to the election, there's still a lot of information there that will apply even now as we look at where we are in terms of the election. Hey, have a great day. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.